Hello and welcome. A very big welcome to everyone who's joined us, whether live or via this recording, for a culture of encounter. In the Diocese of Westminster, Caritas hosts a quarterly network meeting for all parishes, schools and projects to raise awareness more generally. We have opened this up to anybody who wishes to come along and listen directly to refugees and asylum seekers to hear their experiences, because it's through that encounter that we learn and we're able best to respond. Okay, thank you very much for joining us. I know there's some from the Diocese of Salford, from Southwark, from Paul, all over the place. So really appreciate you coming along today. And I hope that you find this really useful and that it inspires you to take action and to share with others. Thank you. Okay. All right, so the first part of today is the listening. And I really appreciate our four speakers who've agreed to talk. What I would like to say is that they come with a bit of a warning. Some of what you might hear might be quite distressing. So please do look after yourself. And if you do feel upset, please feel free to move away from the camera or give yourself a bit of space and seek help if required. And first of all, I'm going to share a story, it's a video of Musab from the Diocese of Salford, working with Caritas Salford, and he's going to talk about his journey, really. So without further ado, let's listen to his journey, his experience.
Hi, hello. My name is Musab. I am from Sudan. I live in Manchester here, and I am a refugee. So watching the Afghanistan crisis over the screen brought a lot of memories to myself. I remember all of these difficult decisions I have to make, where you feel fear of death, and then as well you feel loss of hope. But as well, I remember the courage for life to find somewhere safe and better. I come from the region in Sudan where the conflict originally started in 2001. But as time passed, the conflict covered a lot of areas, or you could say most of areas of Darfur. The conflict got worse and deadly as time passed, as I said. And according to the UN, around 5 million have been displaced internally as a result of the conflict. More than 300,000 people have lost their life, and about 2 million have been displaced in the neighboring countries, Chad and Central Africa, and over 2 million were worldwide. Majority of them are in Europe and USA and Canada. I am one of these 2 millions who are all around, and I am here to share my story with you. I left Sudan in 2015 and got into a boat from Egypt to Italy, where I spent about 6 days in the water with kids and families, and with the very little amount of food to have every day, where kids are crying because of hunger, and you see older people and struggling. We made it safely and got rescued by the Red Cross from the Mediterranean Sea and taken to Italy, where we were issued with the notice to leave the country within the 72 hours, in a country where you don't speak the language, and you have to kind of find a way to leave the country in 72 hours. It was hard, but speaking to refugees and other asylum seekers who were outside in the streets near train stations and near bus stations trying to make it out of Italy, it was possible, but it was difficult as well. So I made it to France, and looking at it in France, where I have to kind of make other difficult decisions as well. I'm thinking about my family, my mom, who I've said goodbye to her over the phone and telling her that I am going, and she was thinking that could be the last time I'm speaking to her. And my dad, who was next to me and saying goodbye without looking at my eyes and looking at me. And my wife, who I have to say goodbye to her over the phone. She accepted and understood the situation, and she tried to be encouraging and positive about it, that everything is going to be okay. But I knew it as soon as she closed the line, she will go and cry because I know who she is. I am thinking about all of this while I am in France and in very cold weather. And I don't have somewhere or anywhere to go over the night, and I don't know where my next meal is coming. I registered with the France authority to claim asylum, which it could take about 4, 5, 6 months. Nobody knows how long it would take. So you may end up taking drugs and to keep you warm, or stay around people who've taken drugs, where you may end up as well one day. So I decided to go to Cali, where there will be a lot of refugees around there trying to make it to the UK, and as well at the same time register with the French authorities for the asylum applications. Either ways, you could be able to kind of have your claim looked at. So luckily, I made it to the UK, and this is why I'm speaking here today. There was no calculated decisions around this. All of it was kind of trying 2, 3 different options to see where you can fit and settle in. Looking at the news, you can see the government have proposed to criminalize whoever comes illegally to the UK and they have a criminal record. That means I will not be able to do what I'm doing today if that bill has been passed. And that will make it very difficult for a lot of refugees who are fleeing conflicts, war zone areas, to find somewhere safe. And they're already facing other barriers like language or integrations. And then imagine putting another barrier on them, that you limit their expectations and dreams. And if they were all criminalized, they're all normal, innocent people who have fled conflicts and they made it to the UK. So they should be able to kind of pursue their dreams and careers. I kind of, after 6 months by staying in the UK, my asylum claim got successful, and I granted leave to remain in the UK. And after 28 days of being granted, you'll be asked to leave home office accommodations, and you have to find somewhere you could live in because you have the right to stay in the UK. I presented myself homeless at one of the Caritas services here in Manchester, where I got offered the temporary accommodations, and as well enrolled in one of the in-house English classes, where I met a lot of people and volunteers. And this is why today I'm speaking to you in English. Without that project being existing there, I won't be able to communicate with you today. And I had the community and network around me with volunteers. And later on, I started volunteering as well, which eventually turned out to be full-time employment for a year. And then because I decided to do a degree in accounting and finance in 2018, I turned to a part-time job. I completed my degree in last June, and now I have started a new job in an investment bank, Bank of New York, and I am trying to stay encouraged, just trying to stay positive and trying to give back to communities through their CSR. And I will keep my links with Caritas and around all of the refugee organizations around Manchester here. I'm thinking that hopefully I might be able to see my wife in the near future, as I applied for her to come over the UK, but the process is taking longer. And I am hoping to see my family as well one day. I really appreciate your support and taking the time to get involved in a local community who support refugees and let them feel welcome. And I really appreciate you taking time and listening to this video. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much to Musav, and thanks for Kath for helping to coordinate that. What an amazing young man, and great to hear his story. And we now move on to hear from Steve. It's not his real name, but Steve is an asylum seeker. He will be talking with his camera off for obvious reasons, but if I could pass you over to Steve. Thank you, Steve.
Hello, good afternoon, everyone. My name is Steve, and I live in London. I've been in this asylum system for about 11 years. And all I can say is that being an asylum seeker is more stressful, and it gives a lot of people uncertainty, because the whole system is just very slow as well. You have to wait long and for so many years to hear from Home Office, and also applying for asylum. Home Office don't seem not to believe you, your story. And also sometimes you get refusals, and also to even access basic healthcare is very, very hard for asylum seekers. And also you happen to be in destitute, and it's very, very hard to be in that situation in this country as an asylum seeker, and you only depend on charities for handouts, and year after year the same thing unfortunately keeps on happening, and you don't know when this thing will come to an end, and when you'll be free to move on with your life. And I just want to say something about this immigration, the borders bill, that this bill will only make it very, very bad, and because the system is already bad, and it's going to become worse, because criminalizing people who are coming here to seek asylum is really bad, because you don't know, when you're fleeing a country because of war or persecution, you don't have time to prepare, and to be punished on the basis of how you arrive in this country without listening to you, that's unfair, that's unjust. And also limiting asylum appeals, it's denying justice to people, because circumstances change. You might have a new a fresh claim, a fresh evidence to submit, and if they refuse you, if they limit appeals, asylum appeals, that won't be justice. And also the other thing is, there was a time when accessing NHS is very, very hard because of the immigration bill. And I remember I had an appointment with the hospital, and I had to cancel that appointment because the letter that I received, it was saying that in line with government regulation, we may need to ask you questions to establish whether or not you are entitled to receive free NHS care. And the website was there, and that made me scared that maybe they might send me a bill which will follow me everywhere I go. And I had to cancel it. Yes, yet I needed some urgent attention. It is very, very, very hard, and you have to live with friends. You have to sleep on their sofas, and have to manage they are living rooms, people who offer you accommodation. You have to go from one place to another, moving around with your luggage. And the asylum system takes long. So it takes long for them to respond. It takes long for them to make the decisions. And there is an element of disbelief. They don't believe you. You think that maybe you're just lying. Everything you tell them is just like a lie. So that's what I wanted to share today regarding my experience. And that's how it's a long journey. It's a long journey. It's a long journey full of uncertainty and a lot of stuff. So thank you very much for listening. It was just a brief. I mean, it's just I'll just share my story in brief. So thank you, everyone. Thank you. So thank you, Caritas, for allowing me to share my story. God bless you all. Thank you. Bye.
Thank you so much, Stephen, and thank you to Sophie from JRS for coordinating that and speaking and having several meetings with Steve. Yeah, that period of limbo. I was speaking to Steve last night, and the period of limbo and not being able to work, not being able to get a job, is soul destroying. So thank you so much, Steve. Really appreciate it. Okay, to continue with the listening exercise. I don't know who wants to go first. So Osama and Roshan are both young ambassadors with CRAN, and they're going to talk about they've come through different routes, that they are refugees. Who wants to go first? Come on, guys. Osama. Okay. Oh, you're both taking it up. Okay.
No. I was just going to say I will leave it to Osama first.
Okay.
No worries,
okay. So Osama, yes, thank you for coming along. Please tell us your story. Thank you.
Thank you so much for inviting me first. So basically, my family is a peaceful family. So when we used to live in Syria, we just had our normal life. We didn't want to engage with any party in Syria. So we just want to live peacefully for my parents to work and for us to complete our studies. But the regime in Syria had different opinion. So its group started to target the people who doesn't belong to its party, and we were one of these people. So that we have been forced to leave Syria and to flee Syria to go to Jordan. So in Jordan, it was safer, but with many restrictions. We were not allowed to complete our studies. We were not allowed to work. So we had to work, like for me and my brothers, we have to leave our studies and the schools to work so we can pay the rent at the end of the month. Otherwise, we will be thrown in the streets. So we had like kind of 7 difficult years just between working and escaping, the government patrols who are there to catch the people who work illegally in Jordan, which is mostly the Syrians. And we tried also to complete our studies and to join the schools, university, but we couldn't because we didn't have any loans or any bursaries so to do that. So it was so difficult for us as a family. So one of my jobs over there, I had to work like 14 hours a day just to pay the rent. And for my brother, he was only 13 and he had to work, as a barber over there just to, to help out to feed our family. So it was basically a difficult life for us. But luckily, like Roshan always says, we had the golden ticket. So we were registered in the UNHCR, United High Commissioner for Refugees in Jordan. And in 2018, they called us and they asked us if we are happy to be resettled in one of the European countries. And we say, yes, why not? Just is a good, a good chance for us, is a new hope for us to, to start a new life, to continue our goals, to achieve our goals in the future. And we started the process with them like in 2018. We had our first interview, second interview, then we had to wait until, do the checks and they confirm which countries they accept us. And luckily the UK has accepted us. So we came to the UK in 2018. and all of us had like a basic background English, so we didn't really struggle to understand the people, but what we struggled with is understanding the education system in the UK. For me, I was so passionate to start, I wanted to start uni, so I just wanted to start any English course that's allowing me to start uni, which that's what I thought actually. It's just when I start an English course that will allow me to start university. But it wasn't like this, so I had to, study English, just in English, just in math, and then uh, apply for university. But this took me around 3 years, and let's say without CRAN, which is Kent Refugee Action Network, I wouldn't achieve that. So when we came, we have been introduced to CRAN to start as students. So because CRAN provide, education for the people, for the young refugees and asylum seekers. And we kind of studied for 1 year in CRAN. Then I became a trainee. So they provide me with the basic trainings in how to start, how to go into employment, how to start university, what is the paths that are open for me. So then in my second year, CRAN introduced the new job, which is youth ambassador, and I applied for it and I got it. And since then, they continue to support me with English and math classes, so I can do my GCSEs, which was the previous year, and I achieved what I wanted. Actually, I wanted to to get this just in English and math, and I got 7 in English and 8 in math, which will allow me to start university this year in September, and I'm going to do foundation year. So basically, this was my goal since I was in Syria, but I have to postpone it for 8 years until I have the opportunity to do that. So simply, this is my story, and I will leave it now for Roshan tell her story. Thank you for listening.
Okay. No, thank you. What, Osama, what's your next plans? What do you want to do in the future?
Yeah, I wanted to be a software developer, and my first step is to start university. So I'm doing now, I will do computer science, and then I will start work as software developer, hopefully. And my ultimate goal is to, be a part of the UN, United Nations. So it's just a few steps, a few more steps.
Okay, that's amazing. Thank you very much, Osama. That's great to hear. Roshan, you beat that, Roshan.
Yeah. Hi, everyone. Thank you for taking part, for listening or our story. My name is Roshan Saga, and I'm from Eritrea, but I grew up in Sudan. I live with my mom and 2 sisters and brother. At the time where in Sudan, I was like 16 going to 17, where I left Sudan because I'm the youngest, the oldest for my sisters and brother. One of the reason is made me to leave Sudan is because I feel like I'm the oldest, that I need to support money and I need to support my mom, because life in Sudan was difficult in terms of not having paper, in terms of jobs, in terms. So I left Sudan with my friends and I went to Libya, crossing the Sahara. And I stayed in Libya 4 months because I didn't have enough money to cross the Mediterranean Sea to go to Italy. So I had to stay there for longer, where in a room there's no sunshine and you would lost the time. You wouldn't know like what's the date or how long you've been there. So from there, I crossed the Mediterranean Sea by boat, and I arrived Italy. Then from Italy, it took me longer to stay where we stayed in Sicily and Sicilia, and then to Rome. I thought like Italy gonna be different, and I'll be supported, or as I thought they would support me and support me, but the situation wasn't as I ever know, like I know, or I know, I thought that there's going to be support From there, I went to France, and then from France, I went to Calais. All my journey, I was just going with people because Europe before. From there, I went to the jungle because people say there's a nice place there, or there is people there, everyone goes there. So I went with them. My life in jungle, it wasn't easy, as you all see the news. People live in tent, people live in really dodgy place, and the police always ask us to move from place to place. So even though with my age, no one did came saying apply here, or we'll put you in a place, a good place, or maybe a camp where all the young people would be there. So I saw people like crossing, going to Lorry, and then from Lorry, like crossing the UK. So I thought it's a nice place to be there. Then, so I did follow that one as well with them. And at the time when I arrived the UK, I was being blessed with a foster family. I was 17. That time, the only thing that I wanted is a bed, because my journey was really long. I left Sudan, that was at the end of 2014, and I arrived to the UK June 22nd, 2015. So it was long journey. And the first thing that I wanted is a bed, sleep, because it was really hard time, and never like had a time that where I sit like or sleep properly or had good time. So I spoke with my mom the first thing, because my mom was really wanted to know if I'm safe. And when I left Sudan, I didn't tell my mom. I didn't tell her that I'm going. I just because of the oldest. So yeah, my life in the UK, as I said, I've been blessed with a foster family, who's, I would say God bless me with those family. And because my foster care, she's an amazing person, and she understood my story, even though without me telling her anything. I just used to stay in my room all the time, never speak to anyone, and the language was, I understand English a little bit, but I couldn't speak to say how I feel or how I miss my family, or how I wished for them to be with me. So my foster family support me in different way, either emotional or anything that I feel that can be supported too. Every time there was a part of me was missing my family. I had a good time with my foster family, but everything I used to have made me like to feel a little bit selfish, because my brother or my sister, they didn't have this opportunity. But that didn't stop me in a way that my story or my journey to continue my life in the UK, and to determine to finish my education. And I'm still trying to work hard on myself. So I go to college. I know Quran because when I came to here, I was introduced to Quran as well, with other refugees and from different places, from Afghanistan, Kurdish, Eritrea, and Syria, different. We had one story which is all left because of the situation that we didn't want to live on, or our family. Today I'm work as a youth ambassador in Quran with Osama and other young people. And one of the reasons made me to apply to be a youth ambassador, because I don't want the new arrival or any young people to go through the same way in terms of education, because there was lots of barriers that didn't like stop me, but I continued to work on myself. But in terms of knowing what to do, and in terms of how to get help or trust your foster family, or if you need help, if you want to talk to someone. So that's one of the issue that made me to apply for this, to help and support the new arrival who comes to the UK. I went to college. I studied different course so I can get my results in GCSE maths and English. I had to do so many different courses. I now have 3 level 2 course 3, which is didn't want to do in that way, but I learned so many things from it that I wanted to go to uni quick. So I study health and social care, pre-access, science, and alongside my maths and English GCSE, which is things that I passed it. And I've done my foundation last year. I'm now study. I'm going to do adult nurse in Christchurch University. My hope is to be one of the NHS worker, because I feel health is one of my ambition to help those in need. And another thing, I feel the NHS is one of the value in this country, and to be part of it I can do that to give back to this country who support me and the people who support me here. So 3 years to come, but I'm gonna work hard on myself to be part of the NHS, and hopefully one day I will be. So thank you so much for listening for me and taking part of listening to all the refugee who need support.
Thank you so much, Roshan. You've shown so much courage and resilience to get to where you are now, and wish you and Osama, Steve and Musab all the best. Thank you so much for talking today, and I'm sure everybody appreciates the time to listen, and I hope it gives you courage to reach out and listen to others as well, and get the message out there. It's really important to hear stories. Okay, on that note, I will pass you to Bishop Paul, who's going to just lead us on a bit of reflection before we move to the phase, the action phase. Thank you, Bishop Paul.
Thank you, Muriel. Thank you sincerely to our speakers this afternoon. What you said was very moving. It was from the heart. And it revealed to all of us the reality of the life of refugees. For many people, of course, when they hear of refugees and they associate it with immigration, it is only a statistic. But you have actually uncovered something that goes behind statistics, behind numbers, and you reveal people who are struggling, who are willing to struggle, and have endured so much hardship. And very interestingly, you've also picked up on something that Pope Francis often says when he speaks of the importance of welcoming migrants, welcoming the stranger. He speaks about the contribution that migrants can make to the society in which they intend to make their home. And I think those 2 points came across very strongly. The hardship and also the willingness to contribute. And of course, listening to your stories and judging requires a response. How should we respond following our encounter, not only with those who have spoken this afternoon, but those many thousands of people who have similar experiences to those whom we met today? It requires a response which reaches out, which recognizes the dignity of all those who are being undermined, and also a willingness to challenge those who want to continue the pain of migrants. They have experienced pain through their growing up experiences, through their journey, through their hardship on the journey. And then, as we heard, as they encounter the harshness of the asylum system, which often treats them as those who are telling lies. That is a continuation of their difficulty. And it is for those who say that we as Christians, that we as brothers and sisters have a duty to challenge that. We have to take up their voice and speak on their behalf. And that, of course, is what Caritas, JRS, SVP, and all those who are on the side of migrants are doing, speaking on their behalf, lending our voices to ensure that their life of the future will be better than it has been. This afternoon, I was also at another meeting which speaks of the Afghan situation. So for us who are involved in working with migrants and refugees and who are addressing asylum issues and immigration issues, it can be very overwhelming. We've had to deal over the years with those coming from Syria, and we had a Syrian speaker this afternoon. We are dealing with those coming from Hong Kong, even though they're not technically refugees. And of course, Afghans, those coming across the channel continually. So even though it may seem overwhelming, what we have to remember is that we are actually doing God's work. That is what we're doing. We put a theological dimension on what we are doing. Certainly we do it because of our humanity, because of the desire to be compassionate, but there's also a theological edge that we cannot forget, that we are actually assisting people to live with the dignity that God has given them as human beings. And also what is very important to me is we cannot, in all cases, totally excuse ourselves from the situations which were described this afternoon. If, for example, we think of the arms trade, if we think of the involvement that we might have had militarily in those countries from which refugees are coming, we are perhaps part of the problem. So that actually increases the onus and the responsibility on us to actually admit who we are as well, that we have to reach out to those if we, for example, have had any part in bringing about the difficulty of which has been spoken. So as we come this afternoon, what we have to do is remember the stories that we've heard, the personal stories, the hardships, the willingness to contribute to this society, and then to respond by being willing to advocate on their behalf. And with that in mind, we've probably heard in the last 24, 48 hours of a plan to turn back boats. That's the expression that's been used. Well, we're not just turning back boats, we're turning back people. We're turning back people in those boats who have experienced the difficulties and the hardship and the trials and the persecution that we have spoken about this afternoon. So it actually increases the responsibility for us to keep challenging those things in Parliament, that come before Parliament, policy which continues persecution, which continues hardship. So we have to continue to advocate, to raise our voices, to speak in those who are persecuted and are undermined. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Bishop Paul. That leads very nicely into our next section, which is about the Nationality and Borders Bill. Sophie's going to talk to us about that, to update us and ask us and tell us what we can do. And then I will talk about the Afghan response from the Diocese of Westminster's point of view, but also a lot of that will relate to your areas as well. So I'll pass to Sophie. Thank you, Sophie. Do you want to introduce yourself, Sophie?
Thank you. Thank you, Mariel, and thank you, Bishop Paul, and to Steve, and to all the young ambassadors from Crown who spoke. Thanks so much, and thanks for having us here. So I am the Senior Policy Officer at the Jesuit Refugee Service, and just here to give an update on the bill. So as you'll be aware, it's going through Parliament at the moment, and it's had its second reading in the House of Commons in July. So it's about to go to the Bill Committee. I'll give a little bit more detail in a minute. Now I'll touch on the bill's contents. We've heard about it already today, and I imagine a lot of you are familiar with it. So I'll be fairly brief. To put put it simply, the bill makes an already hostile asylum determination process much more hostile, making it harder to get asylum. It contains provisions to use reception centres to accommodate asylum seekers. These are likely to resemble Napier barracks, which you might have read about, i.e. they'll be out-of-town prison-like asylum camps. So those are just two examples. There's a great deal that's concerning. And if you do want more details, we've produced a briefing that's on our website. Please also just get in touch. I and my colleagues are all very, very happy to speak about this. Now, I'm going to focus on what may well be the most dangerous aspect of this bill, which has already been mentioned this afternoon. And this is the plan to penalise refugees for how they travelled here. This means that if the bill goes through as it is, people who travelled via another country or without documents will get fewer rights and protections, even once and if the government acknowledges that they are a refugee, i.e. that they do indeed need protection and are entitled to it. The bill doesn't go into that much detail, but it suggests that people in this situation won't be able to settle in the UK, so won't be able to rebuild their life, won't get access to public funds, and will find it harder to reunite with family. That obviously also creates dangers for family members who are also in a precarious situation and desperately want to reunite with people here, and may put them in a position where they don't have a safe route to travel. So this is horrendous. And as we know, as we've heard, most people seeking sanctuary have no choice in how they travel. And just thinking, there's others who are going to speak in more detail about Afghanistan and who are better qualified to speak on it than me in a minute. But I think the absurdity and cruelty of punishing refugees for their mode of travel is brought home to us when we look at the scenes in Afghanistan. We're reminded of the reality of forced migration. People clinging to planes, people struggling to get to the airport, land borders that are hard to cross. And as Steve said, you are having to flee. You get out how you can. You just have to go. To penalise people for how they got here is, to put it simply, to abandon the principle of international protection. And it's vital that we speak out against this. I have touched on the subject of Afghanistan, so I would like just also to note that the government has yet to extend protection to all Afghans already in the system. For example, who've claimed asylum and are awaiting a decision on their claims, or who might have been deemed inadmissible for asylum interviews under processes that are new processes that are part of the new plan for immigration. And this is something that we should remember when advocating for Afghan refugees. I mention it now because it reveals something about our asylum system and about how little it is focused on protection. This is already a system where refugees have to struggle for protection every step of the way. And into this already hostile context, the government is putting forward legislation that's even more hostile, that builds walls where bridges are needed. And as Christians, we need to resist this. We need to build communities of hospitality. Okay, so now coming to thinking about what we can do. One, there's several things. But one is a very practical step. If you're able to host a refugee or a person seeking asylum, this act of welcoming people into your home for a few months gives them a chance to feel safe. Gives them a chance, a context in which they can engage with their case. We've heard about how horrendous the asylum system is and how difficult life is in that context. It actually makes it a lot harder then to engage in an asylum case, of course. JRS UK has a hosting scheme, and we're looking for hosts. So if you're able and you're London based, please do get in touch. That is, I know, a bit of a shameless plug, but I assure you it's for a very good cause, and it's something that is desperately needed and helps to build communities of hospitality. The other thing to do, and what I'm focusing on today, is advocacy, and advocacy around the Borders Bill as it goes through Parliament. So let's look at what is happening next with the bill. Well, that's Bill Committee. A committee of MPs who are yet to be announced will look at the bill over the course of September and October, roughly. They are hearing oral evidence that for the first time on the 21st of September, and then again the 23rd. And then they've got sessions in October where they will be looking at the bill line by line, and they will consider possible amendments. They're expected to finish by 4th November. After this, the bill will go back to the House of Commons for what's called report stage. And this is another opportunity for Parliament to debate the bill. It is the main opportunity for the whole House of Commons to discuss amendments, which can take many different forms, from adding things to taking out the worst bits of the bill. But it is important to note that it's quite hard to get an amendment even on the table. Only a few will end up getting debated. And after that, there's a third reading, and if the bill passes, it goes to the Lords, and then on to the next stage. So there's still a road ahead. Now, over this period, various amendments are likely to be suggested. We don't know exactly what they are yet. Normally, there is quite a short time frame for engaging on specific amendments. So if, for example, there's an amendment you want to write to your MP about and ask them to support it or to oppose it, that would happen. That would become evident in quite a short time frame, relatively. So what I can say for now is, a bit frustratingly, watch this space. As relevant amendments come up, you're likely to find information about them on our website, together with Refugees. That's a coalition of which we're members. We'll also be talking about them as possible amendments come under discussion. And different amendments will come under discussion at different points: Bill Committee, report stage, and then when it gets to the Lords. One thing that we could do is, for example, engage with Anglican bishops in the Lords. And it's really important now to engage with your MP, to let them know that you have serious concerns about the bill and want an asylum system that welcomes refugees. At this point, I think a useful focus would be on the two-tier asylum system that discriminates against refugees on the basis of how they travel. I think it is very likely that the Bill Committee will consider this, as this is a very controversial bit of the bill, and it's also key. And I would really encourage you to write to your MP and express concerns, particularly about this. Ask them to oppose this in a way that they can, and to support an asylum system that instead extends protection to those who need it and helps all refugees rebuild their lives. We've got a template letter about this on our website. You can adapt it and you can make it your own. It's more powerful if you do that. So I would really encourage you to, if you haven't already done so, to write to your MP about this. I think that the two-tier system is a really important point to make, and I think this is a good point to focus on it. and that may be the start of a wider conversation as things develop. And if you have any questions, or you want more details about the bill, as I say, you are very welcome to get in touch with me or with my colleagues at JRS. I'll put my email in the chat, in fact, just to make that a bit easier. I think I'm probably in danger of going over my time at this point. But thank you so much, everyone, and thank you so much, Mariel, for organising this and giving me the opportunity to speak about it. Thanks.
Thank you so much, Sophie. So Sophie and with JRS and the SVP and others are meeting together with CSAN to look at a national response, and CSAN have the direct links in to Parliament to have those conversations. But on the local ground, your local MP is going to be listening to you, and it will really make a difference that you're making that contact. If you do contact your MP and you get a response, it would be really helpful so that we know that we're making an impact. If you could let me know or Sophie know that you've written that letter. So it would be lovely to get 40 emails to say that you've contacted your MPs, and let me know how they respond. Hopefully you get 40 responses as well. Okay, thank you very much. So I think we're going to talk a little bit now about the Afghan refugee situation. Obviously, things have been very sudden, very rushed, and I think we heard earlier this morning's meeting that it's a kind of organised chaos. We've been told that 17,000 people have been resettled from or been moved from Afghanistan since April, and 8,000 of those are through the ARAP scheme. Now, the initial point of entry is for them to be housed in quarantine hotels where they've been for about 10 days. And then they are moved into bridging or holding hotels. And you may have a bridging or holding hotel in your local area. The response locally to the immediate needs of those people in hotels has been amazing. Caritas Salford have been coordinating their local response. The Red Cross are involved with lots of local responses. Talking to various people, the immediate needs are satisfied in that they don't need any provisions, they don't need any particular clothes, but they will be sending out specific requests. But we should be concerned about the longer term support that the refugees need. And from our community, we have a lot of experience from the community sponsorship programme of helping people to resettle. I'll show a slide in a moment of the particular call of things that for people to do. But first of all, in talking to Cran about the young ambassadors and the speakers, my first point of contact was Fawzia, and she's actually the youth support and outreach worker for Cran, but she's also from Afghanistan. So I asked her to say a couple of words about what she's feeling with respect to those of her country people in the situation, and also what they most need in terms of their resettlement. Okay, thank you, Fawzia.
Yeah, as I was saying, it was so nice to actually see a lot of people who actually do care about the refugee issues. And so as Meryl, you were saying, I'm from Afghanistan, and I came here 22 years ago when the first time Taliban took over Afghanistan. And it's actually really shocking and sad actually at the same time to see after 20 something years and that things happen back again to my people. And I know you've been through this for a very long time than that. but still, I think there was a hope things will change for better, and so sadly it didn't. So yeah, so we are the situation. I mean, to see practically what we can do as a community, and what you can do as a community as well. So here at Crown, we are working with a lot of Afghan refugees who came a few years ago, and they're all very worried about their families back home, because there are a lot of young people who, like Rishan, they came unaccompanied here, and they all have families back home, and so they have a contact, and sometimes they don't have contact with them, and they're really worried about that, and they're all kind of needed a lot of emotional support, counseling, as well. That would be quite a really nice, provided by people and volunteers as well. And also the people who, as Meryl was saying, the people who arrived now here as well, they will need ongoing support, long-term support as well. So if you want to see the refugee here have a promising life and achieve all their potential, so I think we can do quite a lot on that to help them to actually achieve that. So, for example, just volunteer, donate your time, volunteer your time. That's really important. So you can always contact your local charities, your local organizations, or you can come together yourself as a local group and help people in your community. So from mentoring, or from kind of teaching English, or from making sure all these young people, and also older people as well, get a place of education. So they can, because most of them, their education got distracted as well, and their jobs as well, and most of them probably qualified people here. So we should all actually put our hands together and find a way, so how we can help them. That will be actually in a very practical way actually to help. And as Meryl was saying, the response was amazing at the beginning. But when the news kind of fades away, I hope our support will not fade away. So can we kind of continue the help and support to be a bit long term? Because for people who lost everything and came here as probably a pair of clothes and things, they will need a lot of support to get to establish here in the UK. So as I see it, from everywhere, from job, from education, and emotional supports as well, because I have been through, it's quite difficult actually to leave everything behind and start a new life in a new place. And if you knew the language and some kind of education, is a bit easy, it makes it a bit easier. But if you starting from scratch, everything is quite difficult.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Thanks so much for talking. And that's exactly what we're recommending. So okay. In terms of the call for action from today, firstly, as Sophie said, write to your MP today. So ask them that you want them to scrap the two-tier system. You want a person-centred asylum system, and we want safe routes where family members can come over. So that's the main thing, and the link there to the JRS. Safe Passage did share their links last time. If anybody wants to put any links in the chat, they're very welcome to do so. So in terms of the Afghan refugee response, the immediate response that I'm getting, and I know this applies particularly in the Diocese of Westminster, but it will apply to your local areas. Do tie in with your local Caritas or local SVP or charities. But basically, the immediate support needed is anyone, if you've got any contacts that have got Pashto, Dari or Farsi speakers, they are needed on the ground now. The next step is the thought is that those in the bridging and holding hotels may well be in there, and for several months, but the comment I've got that they will be there for an indefinite period of time. They will be there until accommodation is found in in communities. So if, you know, it is only a property that's needed, you will get paid for it. So if there's any way that you could put out an appeal in your parish with your networks for anybody who has some kind of accommodation, that would be really much appreciated. And obviously JRS mentioned their hosting scheme. So a call out for accommodation. One idea might be to do a leaflet drop. If we get coordinated, Caritas would be happy to work with you, is do a local leaflet drop to say that accommodation is needed. Obviously, we'd have to check with your local authority that they are happy to receive people and are looking for accommodation. Okay, the next step is Esl Volunteers. So if anybody is Esl qualified or would like to train up to be Esl qualified, in the Diocese of Westminster, Notre Dame de France, so Shaku is here on the call, they have volunteered to coordinate some of the Esl volunteers in the diocese, and also the RMI sisters are also coordinating some kind of Esl response, but there may be local people near to you, and responding to local and specific needs. What is happening now is that people who are befriending and working with people in the hotels are understanding what the local and specific needs are. So, for example, the Caritas Diocese of Salford have a wish list. They're using an Amazon wish list to say what is needed at that time. But it does change. It changes daily as they're satisfied. Longer term, and this really speaks to what Fawzia was saying, is that this isn't just an emergency crisis. It is there's longer term need for resettlement. So for the Afghan refugees, they will need support as they settle into their new areas. So Caritas is coordinating the whole response for the diocese through people like yourselves and networks. Yeah, if your parish, if your SVP group, if your charity wants to get involved in a coordinated resettlement plan, working with the local authority to welcome, to befriend, to orientate, to support, to help people learn English, mentoring, and help longer term support, then please let us know. So there are two ways to do that in the Diocese of Westminster, and they are those links there. So please get in contact and let me know how your organisation or how you individually would like to help. Okay, we have a few moments now. If anybody's got any questions, if for either Sophie, not for the refugees speakers, if that's okay, in respect of their situations. But if you've got any questions for Sophie or me or generally, let me know. It's your chance. Any questions? Yeah, Jackie. Hi, Jackie.
Hello there.
Do you want to introduce who you are? Where you from?
Yes, Jackie McAleenan from the from Southwark Diocese, and a project leader of Sutton Deanery Community Sponsorship Group. What I would like to ask is there a list somewhere of these holding hotels? I don't know. There's bound to be hotels near me in South London, but I don't know which ones they are. How can I find out?
Yeah, I will signpost you to the information we get as it comes through. Obviously, things are developing. We are getting some information through. So I'll send you a list, Jackie, when I've got the information.
Thank you.
Yeah, Sister Christine.
Well, we're being inundated with offers of clothing, and I'm just wondering what's the best thing to do about them. And also, we wanted to support Safe Passage, because I believe they're actually involved with the refugees. So it would seem to us to be able to do something practical would really be helpful.
Yeah, well, there's those areas of need that we've put. We do need, if you could just email me, Sister Christine, to say what you feel that you can offer, or your community can offer, and we really need to coordinate that and respond. And that will be working directly with refugees. So it is very much needed. In terms of clothes, they've been inundated with clothes generally. What they're calling for now is specific requirements. So I'm going to a meeting tomorrow in Westminster, where I'll be told what is specifically needed and how we can get to hear about that. So yeah, let's keep in touch, sister. And the same with everybody. If you're interested to support reactively when there's a particular specific need, or if you've got some kind of like Esl qualification, or you want to do befriending, then with our partners we'll be able to facilitate that.
Sorry, if we offering support to refugees, I mean, and I believe some other organizations, they do the same. Would you have like a list of providers? So say for instance, you will have someone who's maybe job ready, or they need to do Esl online. So how would you do this referral process? How would you?
Yeah, Irina, where are you from, please?
Sorry, I'm from Groundwork. We have 3 projects for refugees and asylum seekers and migrants. So we have a bit of everything, and that's why I'm.
When we talked about the organised chaos, it does depend on the local authority, the hotel, specific hotel. I can speak for a few hotels, but not all of them. Obviously not all of them, but for example, I'm talking to a hotel to Westminster Connects, that's responsible for a hotel in the Westminster area, and they have 320 refugees, 64 families, and 5 individuals there. And they're currently, they had a meeting yesterday to understand what their needs were and what was their situation. So they're being triaged at the moment to understand what's needed. But there are opportunities to register your interest to support those. And they're in this particular situation, Westminster Connects are then coordinating the support depending on what's needed. So if you contact that email address that I gave, you can then let me know, or I can give my own detail, and they will, yeah, so I'll put my email in the chat.
Thank you.
Okay, no, thank you for offering your help. Judith.
Yeah, can I just say that Phones for You, which will take smartphones under 5 years old, they will take them from you so long as you've taken up, you've got to return to factory settings, I think. They will, if you can send them to them, they will redistribute them. I don't know if anybody's aware that in France, well, I don't know, we've had young lads here who've been waiting in France, and the French police knock the phones out of their hands and stamp on them. And we all know how important smartphones are to refugees. It's their only way of keeping in touch with anybody. And of course, when they come here, it's their only way of accessing the help that a lot of the help that they need. So if you've got a smartphone lurking in your drawer, or if you know of anybody who has one, and I know that my generation, which is older than quite a few of you, tend to keep our phones forever, but your children won't. So it'd be a great thing, and I'll put the address in the chat when I find it.
Thank you. Caritas is also piloting Caritas Westminster is piloting a tech appeal. So we're looking to work with the Westminster Hotel in particular to coordinate a call out for computers. But that's in infant stage at the moment. I'll let you know about that. So very similar thing. But yeah, Judith, please share that. Okay, Barbara.
Hello, yeah, hello, Mary. Thank you very much for organising this, and I've got a lot from what people have said so far. Two things in my own borough, Haringey, Haringey Welcome or Welcome Haringey, I can't remember which way around it is. They've just sent an email around saying that our borough's agreed to take 8 families, Afghan families, and we can help in certain ways, and they've listed what we can do, ranging from cash donations to clothes and so on. If boroughs have those welcome refugee committees, that may be one way to find out what's going on in the borough. That's one thing. The other thing is talking about the advocacy. The overall thing that we're all concerned about is that government is not in any way, shape or form signing up to welcome refugees. I know the Afghan situation has kind of slightly confused things, and because they will say, well, yes, we are welcoming what, maybe 20,000, but that is very much forced upon them as because of events, and the overall picture is not welcoming. And people from the Catholic Worker are going to reinstate a vigil that we had once, I think it was once a week. We're probably only going to do it once a month. The first one's going to be Tuesday, the 5th of October at the Home Office. It's just an hour of prayer and just reinforcing the message that we want to welcome refugees. It's a very basic message. And, we're all desperately running around to collect things, send things, and so on. But the overall thing is we just simply want to welcome them and to get that message across. So first Tuesday of the month, probably at the Home Office. Yeah.
Absolutely. And that links really nicely onto an event at the Cathedral on the 25th of October that I would encourage you all to come along to. And that is where we'll welcome little Amal. We mentioned it at the last event. We will welcome little Amal. Little Amal is a 10-year-old puppet who is traveling the world, and she will come to London and come to Westminster Cathedral on the 25th. She is 3.5 meters tall, so not so little. But she will spend an hour with us interacting with, there'll be music, but it's a chance for us to show our support for refugees and their journey. So thank you. The other thing we've got coming up is World Day of Migrants and Refugees on the 25th, I think, of September. 26th. Please do remind your parish priests and please speak out about that on the day. There is a pilgrimage to Dover that you're very welcome to join on the day before, the lunchtime before, where Bishop Paul is leading a prayer session the day before. So I've got the details of that if you want to make your own way down by train and join us that day. So there's a few of us coming. Okay, anybody else want to say?
Can I just come back with something? Jackie?
Yes, Jackie. Hi, Jackie.
Are there any bidding prayers for the 26th? I know it's easy to write them, but it would just save a job if I could just get some and take them to the presbytery.
There are some resources on the Bishops' Conference website. I haven't looked at them in detail, but we can have a look. Yeah, I wanted something doing. Maybe we could look at that, Bishop Paul. Also, JRS and the SVP are developing a parish resource for refugees, and in line with the Nationality and Borders Bill. That is coming out about the same time, but I haven't got an update on that. We need to share that. So we will let you know about that as soon as we have more information. Okay, Phil.
Well, there's a good resource available from the Migrants and Refugees section of the Vatican's Dicastery for Integral Human Development in many languages. And you can download it. It's got all sorts of ideas for various projects.
Great. Could you put that in the chat, Phil? That would be good. And I will circulate it afterwards. I think we have shared it before, but that's available. But yeah, definitely use that day to speak out. Thank you so much for coming to join us and taking part in this session. Please do reflect on what you've heard on the different speakers, and also please respond and encourage others to respond to the call to action. God bless everybody. Take care.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye. Bye.
Thank you.
Thanks very much. Thank you.